Hey booktube, it's Tara. Long time. I am here with my October wrap up. I read a total of 6 whole books this month. I had 3 3-stars, 1 4-star, and 2 5-star books that I completed, and I will get right into them. So the first 3-star read for me for the month of October was Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno-Garcia. This book was a slow, I guess what you would call a slow burn. Very slow beginning, very boring beginning for me. But you know, you need that in order to lay the land, so I stuck it out. I wanted to be creeped out and scared by this book. That was my intent for my October reads, although all of my reads this month were not horror or thriller related. I did have a couple books in there that were just, you know, to kind of break up some of the scary reads that I was trying to accomplish. But anyway, Mexican Gothic follows a young lady named Noemi, Noemi is her name. And she's this young lady, she's glamorous, she's chic. She was sent to go and find and I guess help her cousin who lives in this home and is married to this man that no one is really familiar with. And so from the letters that Noemi is receiving from her cousin, Noemi is coming to the conclusion that something is wrong with her cousin. Her cousin has become quite mental in the head and she needs to find out what's going on. As Naomi travels and goes to this home, a lot of bizarre, spooky, paranormal, and supernatural things start to happen, and then you find out what's really going on with the house, what's happening inside of the house, how it's taking over not only her cousin's mind, but other minds, other bodies in the house. It is spooky, it is creepy, it's bizarre, like I said, but it wasn't scary in the least, not to me by any stretch. So 3 out of 5 stars. My next 3-star read was a book called Early Departures by Justin A. Reynolds. And this book follows a young man by the name of Jamal who has a best friend by the name of Q, and Q ends up dying. I don't think that's a spoiler. And he has the opportunity to be brought back to life. And so what I found weird about this book is, number one, the chapters are backwards. So I believe it starts at chapter 100 and then it counts back to 99, 98, you know. And so the story is told in essence out of order, which can make it confusing in the beginning until you catch up and realize what's going on, because it doesn't start with anyone's death. It took me quite a few chapters to understand what I was reading and to become involved in the story. The science behind how Q is brought back to life and the story behind how Q is brought back to life was very intriguing and interesting. And this book, I remember, did spark thoughts on living your life and giving purpose to your life while you're here, because as the adage said, you know, life can be very short. And if you don't take the time to, you know, cherish and give purpose to the moments that you have, you could miss out on the opportunities that are being presented to you, and, you know, never take life for granted and things of that nature. So good life lessons in the book. However, with it being confusing in the beginning and the storyline wasn't necessarily all that gripping, I only, again, gave it 3 out of 5 stars. My next 3-star read and last 3-star read for the month of October was The Obelisk Gates by N.K. Jemison. This is book number 2 in the Broken Earth trilogy. The first book is the 5th season that I talked about, I believe, on my last video. This book wasn't as good as the first one. Obviously, I gave the 5th season 5 stars. This one only got 3, maybe 3.5. It goes deeper into the science of orogeny, which is this gift that certain, I don't even know if I want to call them humans, but certain humans are gifted in order to move the earth, talk to the earth, feel the earth, make things happen, cause these seasons within the earth. So you learn more about the main character, Esun. You learn more about her daughter, who was kidnapped by Esun's husband. You get deeper into the storyline and deeper into the history of orogeny. And of course, you meet new characters in book 2. And like I said, it wasn't as exciting as book number 1, but you do gain a lot more knowledge on the characters that you come to know in book number 1. So book number 3, I believe, is called The Stone Sky. And I plan to read that one in November, and I will finish the trilogy finally, because I never finish trilogies or seemingly duologies for that matter. So 3 out of 5 stars for The Obelisk Gate. My 4-star read for the month is a book called The Shadows by Alex North. This book is a creepy book about children and lucid dreaming and distinguishing your dreams, lucid dreams, from real life. The main character is Paul, and as a child, he witnesses a murder or accident, depending on how you look at it, of his friend. His other friend or enemy, depending on how you look at it, was the one that caused the accident. And so his friend's death sets off this storyline where you really don't know what's real and what's a dream. This book felt mostly like a mystery because you're trying to find out what happened to Charlie. Charlie is the character that murdered or caused the accident of the little boy in Paul's youth. So Charlie ends up disappearing, seemingly in thin air from the earth. No one has heard from him, found him, discovered him in 20-something odd years. And so the book kind of follows what happened to Charlie, and then you go throughout learning how certain adults, parents, other people were involved in copycat murders and possibly involved in what happened with Charlie. This book was definitely a slow build, which I really don't care for slow builds. I like to be grabbed in the beginning, but it was a very good book moving forward in the middle and definitely towards the end. So again, 4 out of 5 stars. So for my first 5-star read is a book called Winter Counts by David Heska Wanbli Weiden. I hope I pronounced that right. Indigenous writer, Native American. And this story was set on an Indian reservation, and it follows the main character, Virgil Wounded Horse, who is the unofficial local law enforcement. He basically uses his fists as punishment versus the law. So after his nephew overdoses on heroin, he's on the hunt to find the man who has brought this drug into the reservation. I learned so much in this work of fiction about Native American culture, because the author does weave a lot of their culture and their rituals and the history of Native Americans, especially in the United States, into the storyline. And that history was very enlightening for me and causes me to want to learn more about Native American history and the stories in this country. This book was a very thrilling ride. Obviously, it's part mystery because you want to find out who brought the drugs in, and then when you do find out, it's not the person that you think it is. And the author's writing style is simply superb. Never a dull moment in this book. Definitely, again, for me, the education that I got just in the side notes concerning history and racism in regards to colonialism and the state of reservations in the United States today due to that colonialism, and how all of that intertwines and how all of it, bleeds into the storyline about the drugs that are coming into the reservation and, how to stop them and what to do moving forward. It was simply superb, thrilling ride. Like I said, not a dull moment. I loved every bit of it. This was my book of the month pick for, I don't know if it was an October or a September book, but anyway, book of the month. Did a great job with this one. I loved it. Last book I'm going to talk about, 5-star read, my first Stephen King novel, The Institute. So this story follows a 12-year-old boy named Luke, who is from Minneapolis, and Luke has the power of telekinesis. He is kidnapped in the middle of the night, and he's taken to a place called The Institute, which is in the middle of nowhere. Here he meets other children that are much like him and some different. You either have telekinesis or you are telepathic. So these young children have one or the other. And this institute is using their gifts as research and, I want to say, torturing and punishing these children in order to bring about their powers more strongly so that they can accomplish certain future events that happen in the United States. Sounds complicated. Sorry if I'm not explaining that good enough. However, I will say there is no direct dialogue, or I didn't read anything in particular that described in great detail the abuse that these children went through. So you won't necessarily be reading about, gory torture of children, because I could not sit and read through that personally, being that I have a child. But you do know that these children are hurt and they're punished and they're tortured, but it's not graphic. So this book also has a dual storyline because it doesn't just follow Luke. It follows another gentleman, which the book starts off with, an adult named Tim. And Tim is a young cop in a small town, and he's trying to make a name for himself. The two stories, of course, will seem unrelated, but towards the end, you see how they come together. I kept thinking while reading this book, when is it going to become scary? Because, that's Stephen King's claim to fame. And there were definitely some creepy moments and some cringy moments that happened, but nothing that necessarily scared me per se. I would say the only, cringy thing about it is that you're reading about children that are being treated as subjects and not as little people with emotions. That would be the only thing that would possibly be a trigger warning for someone. But outside of that, it wasn't It wasn't that bad at all. So again, this was my first Stephen King novel. I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I will definitely read more of his work in the future. And that wraps up my October reads, all 6 books for the month. Thank you guys for watching. I will try to be back next week, starting again with my Friday reads, since I took the month of October off, and just do catch-ups on what I have been reading throughout the week. So let me know what your favorite book was in October, and if you've read any of the books I read, what you thought about them, and consider subscribing if you haven't, and like this video, and I will talk to you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.